I would say that the best policy for all of this would have been get as much good information out there as you can. Do not over exaggerate. Do not mandate anything, because especially in this country, that doesn't work. People of all countries in the world, we're the least likely to tolerate that. You know that's true.
How do you know the mandate didn't work? What if a lot of
Because you
people
just
got
said,
the vaccine so they could keep their jobs?
I mean, I did, right?
Hey,
Um,
look at that.
yeah, and I'm very unhappy about that. Not because I got it, but I don't like being forced into medical procedures. And I don't. I guess something you still have an answer for me.
Well, it's okay
In
if you're mad.
what other context would you be okay with that? Where's your threshold for forcing things like this? What are you okay with? What are you not okay with?
I'm okay with the exercise of state power to protect public health. Obviously, there has to be a line. Like, I wouldn't advocate like deploying paratroopers to like quickly black bag a elementary schooler who sneezed on a public water fountain. I mean, obviously, at a point we're kind of not actually doing anything good. But when it comes to like massive, unprecedented pandemics that sweep the world in seemingly no time at all, I mean, yeah, I think you can go pretty hard with the protections there. And I have like very little sympathy for the anti-vaxxers because I mean, I kind of hate them. Like borderline,
Okay.
like I don't even care like how they end up health-wise after the end of the pandemic because they're kind of like evolutionary dredges, you know? In a system where as much truth, like never before has information been as readily available, right? Like you don't have to trust Fauci. If you want to, you can go actually doing research on this stuff. While the specific process for the preparation of COVID-19, like mRNA vaccines from Pfizer or whatever, you can't just like recreate or test that, of course. But in terms of the availability of scientific data, we're swamped with it. But it seems like so many of the people who say like, well, I don't trust the vaccine, do your own research. The research they mean is like Joe Rogan episodes. And like they hold us all back. And they do. Not just if they're like choosing to worsen their own health, but they worsen the health of the people around them. They hurt the economy. They like, man, they make going outside not fun anymore. Like legit. I'm sure a lot of people, maybe you felt this way. You've been in Florida, I'm sorry. Or a lot of people in chat as well. But like, you can feel it when you go to a venue that has a lot of like maskless, chud-looking dudes. You know for a fact most of them haven't been vaxxed, and you know your likelihood of getting sick there is a lot higher. Me when I go to the gun range. And like, fuck these people. Like, get the fucking vaccine. You haven't been told by your doctor you're going to get an adverse reaction to the vaccine. You don't see your doctor. Fuck you. Get the fucking vaccine. It's free. It's a medical miracle. I hate them. I do. And that's why I want the state to black bag them.
Okay. But you still haven't answered my question. Where's your threshold for this stuff being acceptable, right? So COVID, sure. But where do you take this power away from the state? When does it become unacceptable? Is it 10% less? Is it 5% less? Is it 50% less?
I mean, I think if something is being declared medically to be a pandemic, I feel like that's a good line to draw when it comes to the extent of like the state power that you would throw out there. I don't know like what exactly like I don't know what exact level of mandate I think is acceptable. I don't think it's possible to draw a hard line like where should you think the taxes would be exactly? 30%? Well, okay, what about 30.2%? I mean, I don't know. I can ballpark it. I think we could have gone a lot harder. I don't think we should have gone as hard as China. I think that China did a lot of damage with the approach they took. I think that it is acceptable for us to strongly encourage people to get vaccinated and to limit the extent of public mobility significantly if it means quelling transmission of the virus.
Okay, what about Australia? Was that an acceptable level?
What'd they do there?
Well, they're really hard border lockdowns, but the thing I had a problem with the most was the showing up at people's houses and taking them to fucking camps. Yeah, they might have had food and been treated okay, but in a free democratic country, you should never be picking people up and taking them to camps. It's not an acceptable thing to do.
Um, Australia police arrest quarantine escapees. The trio fled to a remote camp inside Australia's COVID internment camp. Let me see. From WRAL. Let's check that out. Australian quarantine facility is not a concentration camp. Thank you for letting me know.
You know that.
Not an internment camp. Okay. When asked for clarification, Johnson's office told a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporter he was referring to a COVID-19 quarantine site in Australia that requires residents returning from international travel to stay for. Oh wait, this is that like buffer thing where if you come back from international travel, you have to like stay in a hotel for 2 days or 2 weeks.
I'm not talking about the hotel ones. I'm talking about the like white buildings. Border enforcement's one thing, but I'm talking about like, hey, you had contact tracing. You're going to go to this little white building and you're going to stay inside or on the patio of it for 2 weeks, and you have no choice in the matter.
And this was just anyone who got sick?
I mean, I don't think it was anyone. I think they obviously missed people. I think it was contract tracing. Let me find it here.
Okay, because I'm seeing large quarantine villages specifically for international travel. I'm not seeing any of them for just people having COVID. I'm trying to see. I'm seeing stuff from China, and I know China does have extremely stringent COVID quarantine facility procedures. Human rights: Australian women kept in COVID camp. Okay, hold on. Human rights in Australia are being brought to the forefront again after a young Australian woman was taken from her family home. Oh, here we go. Okay, this has to refer to the thing you're talking about. By police to a COVID internment camp. Casino bus. Is that ever even? Wait, only to find herself isolated and locked in a COVID internment camp without even having the virus. Why? What source is this? Charity Today.
That sounds super reputable.
Yeah. I feel like I would need to... Okay, yeah. It says right here, Australia's quarantine facilities are for travelers, not for isolating unvaccinated people. Was this because... Okay, did she come back from international travel and then head back to her home? Wait. She said it all began.
I'm reading the same article you are, yeah. She recounts how investigators came to her home shortly after, having run the number plate on her scooter to identify her as a close contact. So it's contact tracing.
Test me for COVID. What's happened? No, wait. I don't believe this. So by contact tracing, they mean like kidnapping her and putting her in a camp, like you were near a person who got COVID? There has to be another reason.
There doesn't have to be, man. I mean, it could be bullshit, but I remember quite a few videos during the time, like 2020, early 2021, of people in those facilities without the right to leave, which I don't like it for travel. Like, I'm still against that as well, but it's a little more justifiable from travel. And if it's the hotels, whatever. But
I think it's just fine for travel. Like the process of like checking and detaining travelers to your country during times of sickness is literally the oldest form of quarantine we have, I think. Like, that shit was being done back during, like, the Black Plague. Inside Australia's COVID internment camp, this also... So that one source, this was also this one woman. I think this story right here is bullshit. 2 million views. This is, like, the perfect fake story. Or maybe it was, like, a clerical error or something like that. But policy-wise, it seems like these facilities were built for people who just came back from international travel, which seems fine to me.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe. Regardless, I guess. So China, no. Travel camps, fine. America, lockdown harder, kind of your position, yeah?
Yeah, if a person travels internationally, I don't think there's anything wrong with putting them in containment for like a week or something to see if they get sick. Or, you know, I mean, if you're trying to keep sick people from entering the country and immediately coughing on everyone, that seems like pretty okay.
Okay, I guess generally my entire problem with a lot of this stuff is I don't like ever giving the government power to restrict this kind of freedom and saying things like what we did in the Black Plague, historical examples of quarantine. Like, it might be good to do now, but saying we've done this for hundreds of years isn't exactly a good argument for why we should continue to do something.
Well, we do it because it's effective, right? Like the reason we want to prevent people from other countries from entering with their sickness is because that's literally like the main way you keep sickness from spreading in your country. We already have systems for control and processing at our borders because that's the nature of the nation state. So as long as we have those checkpoints, it seems worthwhile to like use those as natural barriers for the disease. I mean, this is why what's Plague Inc. is so difficult with Madagascar, right? Because once a country closes off its airports and its docks, it's really difficult to get the disease in, you know?